Welcome everybody. This video is going to show you how to model the wheel assembly in Fusion. I've realized after working with everyone that the tutorial videos don't cover some of the tools that I think you're going to need for this modeling. Okay, so I'm going to swipe and show you this assignment here in Canvas. You're modeling these 5 or so parts, okay, the base plate, the brace wheel support, the axle, the wheel, and the bushing, okay, in Fusion. And then you're going to take those 5 parts and you're going to assemble them also in Fusion. The way I would recommend you do this is you model each part as a separate file, okay. I'm going to cover how to build the base plate in this video, and I'll have other videos for the other parts. Okay, so if I swipe over here, I have a new file right here, okay, that we're going to use to model the base plate. I'm hoping this will be about a 10-minute video. So let's come back over here and we'll just start. This plate, overall dimensions, I'm going to start with kind of an overall rectangle. Okay, 5.25 by 3.25. So I'm going to make a new sketch. Let's see, waiting. Why can I not see it? There it is. Okay. Pick a plane. I usually work on the bottom plane just because that's the way my brain works. It doesn't really matter. You just need to draw your shape as a sketch, and then you're going to turn it into a 3D object. So I'm going to take a rectangle, and I usually just pick in a random place. I don't tend to start at 0, 0. I think it's easier to start randomly. Also, before you do anything, let's go into document settings, make sure it says inches. If you're still in millimeters, you have to click this change settings, change it from whatever it is to wherever you want. We want to be inches because we're in America. Okay, I usually click set as default and then hit OK. Since I'm already in inches, I don't need to change anything. That's why it's grayed out. Okay, so again, document settings. Now I'm ready to use my rectangle tool. And I can see that the vertical dimension is highlighted, so I'm going to make that 3.25. If I tab over, I can make a 5.25. Okay, and then I'm going to hit Finish Sketch, and there's my rectangle. Then we want to extrude it into a 3D object. I'm swiping back over. Okay, I have to look at all my dimensions and figure out how thick to make it. This says 0.625. This says 0.125. This would be subtracted from this to get this thickness. Okay, so I think the easiest would be to start by 0.625 minus 0.125. So I'm going to go to Extrude tool. Okay, it's going to go up. Here's my distance. Let me show you something we may not have known. You can do math in here. I can go 0.625 minus 0.125. And it does math for you, and it's a ½ inch. Okay, so that's kind of cool. Remember, the home button takes you like kind of centered on your shape. So that's the first start of our object. Then let's do this little recess in the middle. Okay, 1.75, 1.75. The reason the middle isn't dimensioned is you should never dimension everything all the way across. And one practical reason is because if the computer rounds and rounds and rounds, and those 3 rounded dimensions don't add up to this dimension, we have a problem when we go to manufacturing. So you always would do an overall and then dimension. You really should dimension your 2 more important dimensions. Okay, in this case, they decided this is a critical dimension, that's a critical dimension. If this recessed area is off by a few 1/16 of an inch, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so let's remember 1.75, 1.75. So here you need to click. You need to either go Create SketchUp on the button, or if you right click, if you have a mouse, or if you 2-finger click on your pad, you can get Create Sketch. Okay, you need to make a new sketch. And then you're back into your sketch tools. I'm going to do a rectangle, and I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm going to kind of rough it out. Make sure you're on the edge. Okay, and then to make it exact, you want to use the dimension tool. If the dimension tool isn't up here on your screen, you can go down in the pull down menu, and it's at the very bottom. And I'm going to dimension from that edge to that edge, and then I go out. Usually you don't want to put dimensions in here because it's much cleaner if you go outside. And that should be not that random number, but 1.75, enter. And you see how it moved it over. Then I'm going to do the same thing. It's still highlighted, so I'm still in dimension tool. And do it again, 1.75, and this time it makes the rectangle smaller because these are locked in. Okay, finish the sketch, and now I can extrude any one of these three shapes. I'm going to extrude the middle one. And instead of going up, we're going to do a cut dimension. So instead of doing a new body up, we're going to do a pull down and make it a cut. And then your dimension here is going to be, since it's going up, I'm going to do a negative, and it'll go down. And I hit OK, and I just cut that little groove out. Okay, so there's my groove in the middle. Let's do the backside extension out the back. Okay, so we have to do a new sketch on the backside of this metal plate. So I'm going to take a corner and slowly turn it around. Kind of get it like that so it looks doable. Again, create a sketch, but tell it where you want to create your sketch. I like to right click, create sketch. Rectangle tool, again, make sure you're on the edges, and then use the dimension. And how big is that rectangle again? 1.5 from the edge. Now if you look at these dimensions, this tells you 1.5 and 2.25. So we could dimension exactly that way too. Go from, I don't know if I got it, let's escape. Make sure it lights up. Okay, from there to there, 1.5, enter. And then since I'm still in dimension tool, I'm going to make, I can either pick that line and that line, or I can just do that. And then this is going to be 2.25, enter. Okay, and that's exactly what that said, 1.5 and 2.25. Finish that sketch. Extrude that one. That should go up 0.125. Enter. Okay, and now you can see I have this extrusion out, I have an extrusion in. Notice that they don't line up. Okay, if I go to the front view, you can see how there's like that line does not line up with that line. Okay, and that's in real life that would be important, because if they were lined up exactly, you'd end up with a skinny part right there that could be a breaking point in this metal plate. So they go past it, which is making it stronger. Okay, let's go back here. Why don't we just do this curve in the corner? That's called a fillet. That fillet is a 0.5 radius. Fillet tool is a really nice, easy tool to use. It's right there. Click it. Click. Click. I'm going to turn my cube with a corner carefully so I don't end up like upside down and lost. And since I'm still in the fillet tool, I can go click and click. I've got all four selected. It says 4 edges. There's my radius. I like to triple click it, make it say 0.5. Looks beautiful. You can see it looks right, and I can hit OK. Okay. I think the only other thing we have to do is these holes. Okay, that's the hole designation. The best way to do holes is to mark the points and then use the hole tool. That's how you get these. This is a threaded hole, and I know because it says 16 UNC 2B. That's a thread type. Okay, this arrow tells me the hole is 3/4 of an inch down, but this metal plate is only a 1/2 inch thick, so it's really a hole all the way through. So I would have just had this say through. I think down here we've got a through hole. See that? I don't know why they chose to use a hole with a certain depth, but either way, you're going to get a hole all the way through. And then that's the size of the hole, that's the thread pattern. Okay, so we're going to have to mark 4 points first. If you can remember 0.5 and 0.5 from each corner, we'll just use the point tool. So again, you need a new sketch, click on a face, create a sketch, and then what you want to do is, I don't see the point tool, so it's hidden right here. There's the point tool. Okay, you can possibly find the center point, but I don't see that it's telling me that, so I'm just going to randomly mark some holes, or some points, I mean. Okay, and then I'm going to use the dimension tool to make sure they're in the right place. So I'm going to go point to edge, should be 0.5, enter. Point to this edge should also be 0.5, enter. And do that all the way around. That one did. So that one says it's going to over constrain it. So this found the center point, so I don't need that dimension. Okay, I might just double click it just to make sure. See, that one didn't find the 0.5. Oh, no, it did. So we're all good. This is actually a good error message. Okay, you can hit OK, but it puts the dimensions in quotes, which means it's not a mention that will drive that location. It's a dimension that's driven by the location. It knew where this point needed to go because it did find the center point of this arc, which is a 0.5 arc. So I'm just going to delete that dimension. We don't need it. Let's see if this one, that one's also a 0.5, so we don't need that one. How about dimension, oh, it didn't want to dimension those two lines. Okay, I want to dimension that point to this edge. It's also 0.5. We don't need that one. This one looks like it's messed up though. See, that one is like, let me find it again. Dimension that point to that edge. Okay, we don't want it to be 0.399 something. We want it to be 0.5 exactly. Point to that edge. It looks like it did find it. Maybe it didn't, but I'm going to make sure it's 0.5 exactly. Enter. Okay, so we've got them all laid out the right way. Now when I finish the sketch, I can use the hole tool, and sometimes it automatically finds the points. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't find the points, you just have to click on the points. Okay, and then you have to make it the right type of hole. So what we want is not a counterbore, but a simple. We don't want a simple, we want a tapped, which is another word for threaded. You can see the threads now. Okay, and then we don't care about the drill point, because it's going to go all the way through. We can either use distance and type in the 0.75 depth over here, or you can go all the way through, and then you don't need to worry about depth because it just says all the way through. Okay, then we just have to put in the size. So if I look here, this is the size of the hole. If I go back to my drawing, the size of the hole is 3/8 of an inch, and we need these threads, 16 UNC 2B. So we want to go right here, 3/8 of an inch, so that's good. 16 UNC, so it already picked that once you put in the size here, but then we need to change the class to a 2B, slightly different thread. And then you just hit OK, and there's your beautiful threaded holes. Okay. Something cool on these, I think, if I double click the hole tool, let's see, can I double click here? I wanted to show you how you can change it from like a visual of a hole to an actually modeled threads. And I don't remember where it was. Maybe I have. Let's try this. I'm not going to save it yet. I'm going to make sure everything's in here that we need, and then I'll save it. I think we've got it all. We have threaded holes, we have fillet corners, we have the recess, we have the extension out. So this thing looks like it's all done. I'm going to hit escape a few times to make sure I'm cleaned out, and then I'm going to hit save. Okay, I would recommend you make a folder. Okay, I have one that I already created because I built these previously. Make a folder and probably call it wheel assembly model. Okay, so you can find it later. You could make a new folder if you wanted. Okay, and then you're going to call it whatever it is. Then call this part. This is going to be baseplate. And I'm going to call it baseplate 1 because I think I already have another baseplate in there. Save. There's my baseplate 1. Okay, if I go into my data panel, I have this folder called wheel assembly model. In there I have my baseplate 1 I just made with you guys, and I have a baseplate I made earlier. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to worry about the threaded holes. If you want to figure that out and you can't figure it out on your own, you can always ask me. Oh, here it is. Threads, okay? Cosmetic threads. And I was like, what does that do? And if I click it, you can make it not cosmetic, but actually model threads. And you hit OK. And see, now these threads are actually like actual models of threads, which is pretty darn cool. So if I 3D printed this, these would actually be threaded. Very cool. So it's right there, document settings, threads. Okay, home view. I'll hit save again. I'm just going to say OK. And that's it. End of video. Thank you.